can't do it twice. You cannot do it twice.
It's not that kind of show.
Just keep on letting the roles play. That's what happens when you forget to untouch the loop button. So, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to the funnest Monday night where we talk about comics, and more comics. Shane, what's going on?
Oh, not too much, Izzy. I'm a little tired from last night. Had a big Super Bowl thing here, so I had a good time, and I've been catching up on all my reading this morning. So
how does the big game work in your area, the Canadians? How do you guys deal with the Super Bowl?
it's still pretty popular. I usually do a gathering with a group of friends. We have the same group we've been doing for probably about 14 years. So the kids are all growing up. It's fun to see them growing and everything. And it's always split. I mean, we're a huge Bills area really because we're so close to Buffalo. Like we're only half an hour away across the border.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of Bills fans, which obviously were disappointed. But yeah, it
It's
was
okay.
fun. It's good.
The Bills are
It's
used to
very
losing.
popular for sure.
The Bills are used to losing anyway, so it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Say that to Chris, right? Yeah, for me, I watched it, and by the time the fourth quarter hit, I was sitting in my sofa because I was sick, and I was actually getting sick while we were doing the live stream. Literally at the live stream on Friday, I was getting sick. I was feeling it, and come Saturday, I was like, and come Sunday, I was like, I was still kind of like down and out. It wasn't until like later in the evening I started getting better, and then I'm watching this game and I'm seeing this really was a blowout. I thought it was going to be a shutout, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh. And then Kendrick Lamar, I don't listen to Kendrick Lamar, so that performance meant nothing to me. But one thing,
I'm the same.
yeah, one thing I did notice that was different this year than was last year was the Taylor Swift spottings. Last year, we had nearly 25 Taylor Swift spottings. This one, we had 2.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It was almost a thing on our prop sheet. Last year it was, is how many times will they show Taylor Swift? And this year we just took it off.
It was like, it's not that big of a deal this year. In fact, she got booed when they showed her.
Yeah.
So all that, and it's now over. But let's go ahead and say what's up to the guys in the chat. Starting with Las Cruces, always the first to show. He showed up at 2:17. And then we got our boy Nerdy Geek. What is going on? Nerdy Geek had a good weekend, I want to say.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
he has a video that he put out on his fresh YouTube channel of a tour of MegaCon. If people want to see the inside of that.
Definitely got to go check that out. Las Cruces with the woohoo! All right, there you go. Right there, hanging out, doing your thing. All right. We got D in the house. 2 days to New Comic Book Day. Isn't that always great? For me, it's 2 days to my wife's birthday. So, got to take her out. I'm here for I don't even know what that symbol is. A basketball? I think he put a basketball.
The pie? Is it
yeah,
pie?
Something. I don't know. Anyway, Vampire House music. You like the opening credits? I think they're always cool. But you're not sick. You're strong and powerful. Yeah, you get better. That's how it works. You take your medications, you get your rest, you do your thing, you get better. That's how I am. Okay. I jinxed the game because I was jokingly saying to go Birds to get under Beckerman's skin. I didn't really want that to win. That's your own fault, bro. You meant the Canadian Chief Bird. Go Lion! And he's confirming it's a pie.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a pie.
It looked like a basketball. It was so small I couldn't really tell. So we started at 6:15 because in pure cover price fashion, they give me the numbers right at the very end. So the numbers came in like around 5:45, somewhere along those lines. And I'm texting you like, looks like we're gonna have to start at 6:30 now. But then the numbers came in, and a lot of the numbers were similar from the previous one, so it made it a little easier to just do it. So we get to see what's trending this week. Yeah, that's what you want to call it. I give up on chaos. What's going on, Brian? Brian has a great video out today about people overspending on comics. Go check that video out. It's good stuff.
No, I'm not going to watch it because I don't want to stop overspending.
And there's our hello from Nuevo Mexico. That's what I'm talking about. But we did the chart busters. I want to actually put out those videos this week so you guys can see them again. But I'm not even sure how I should put them out. Should I put the whole chart busters? Should I cut them up by the eras? Whatever it is, but it's going to come out the rest of the week. But it's going to be a really busy week for me in general. So we'll see how that turns up. Anyway, enough talking. It's time for the Comic Heat Index. And did MegaCon comics make the list? We're going to find out right now. It's time for the Comic Heat Index, the top trending comics for the second week of February 2025. If you could see, I don't have any MegaCon exclusives on the top up there, Shane. What could that potentially mean?
We'll see. It could be a little bit delayed because it did just end. So
So, but we do see some new faces on this list. And we're going to talk a lot about these new faces because even though we had MegaCon, we also had a couple of other things dropping this week. We had a couple of trailers dropping for the Super Bowl. And we have, as you can see there were some announcements and some hype for upcoming movies that are happening this week. So let's take a look at this list. We're going to try to do the best list as we possibly can because this is a consolidated list from Cover Price, CBSI, and Key Collector. But not only that, we also take to account fair market values, how many books were sold during the time from a 30-day period, and overall hype. And that's how this list is created. One of these days, I will share this spreadsheet. Shane has been privy to the spreadsheet, and he could tell you firsthand is very intricate. So, yeah. So let's take a look at our list for today, and hopefully I don't got no errors because I got to edit this thing pretty good, and I got to do it tonight. So let's take a look at our list for today, starting with number 10. Number 10 is Fantastic Four 243. This book came out in 1982 from Marvel Comics. This book was last recorded, the last sale of this book was $70 at a 9.2. Fair market value of this book is $17 raw, while 9.8s are going for about $136. This is on the trending list for Key Collector at number 9 only, and the sales volume of this book's at 41%. Hype level of this book is high. This is classic John Byrne. We never covered this book when we were doing John Byrne, but it's safe to say that the hype from this book comes from a certain movie that just dropped its trailer last week.
yeah, for sure. And we're going to be probably talking about this trailer and books in a lot of these trending books. I think that was kind of the main trailer, but there's also a couple others, like you said. This one I don't have, and I wasn't familiar with it, but I do love that cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very familiar with this cover. It is, as we say, it's a classic, iconic cover. It may not be as iconic as 49, but it is one that is just, it's a great cover. It just shows you how big Galactus is, and he's actually bigger than that at times. So he has a tendency of, getting smaller or getting bigger. It depends on how the artist wants to do it, right? How the writing team does for it. But this book is on this list simply because Fantastic Four dropped. And what are your thoughts on the Fantastic Four trailer?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I'm maybe in the minority, and I don't want to cause anything by saying this, but I didn't mind all the previous Fantastic Four movies. I thought they were good as movies, not as like lore movies. But I've watched them with my kids. They like them. I haven't watched the darker one for a while, but I did watch it and thought, I don't know why this is getting beat up so much. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I thought the trailer showed you enough. We'll wait and see on the thing. That was the only thing I noticed in the trailer.
So for me, I did see all but the last one. I tried to watch the last one. I took 10 minutes and then I couldn't take it. That's how much I didn't like that movie. But I was a fan of the Fantastic Four movies with Jessica Alba. As a fan, I didn't take it seriously as I probably would more for this one. It was upsetting to see that Galactus was just a mushroom cloud. Yeah. And I like how this one, though they didn't give us a full reveal of Galactus, they said, oh, he ain't no mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They kind of confirmed that in the trailer.
And I would say that the size from the trailer is kind of in keeping with this size scale, because I thought that was my one thing from the trailer before I really saw this cover, is it looked like the shadow or the back of his head. I'm like, oh, I thought he was going to be bigger than that, but it kind of lines up with this cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let's see how it turns out because it could come across as looking hokey. Even though we have seen Giant Man before, so we have to do that comparison in that way. We'll see. But one thing we didn't see Reed use his powers, so that's the part that I'm a little concerned. Are they trying to make sure that the CGI is looking well, or they just didn't want to reveal it?
Yeah, I did notice that as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Chaos. I have that magic. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that magic later. Um, slap seal. Oh yeah, I don't even want to talk about that seal. All right, Galactic needs to get on a treadmill. Everybody sagged their pants and everything.
I just think he has short legs.
Iconic burn cover. Another thing that they didn't reveal was Silver Surfer. So we didn't get that either. There's now rumors that the Watcher is going to be in it, which makes sense with the storyline, adapting the famous 48, 49, 50 storyline. Who knows? Anyway, at number 10, Fantastic Four 243. Let's take a look at what's number 9. Mark Spears Monsters number 2. Just when you thought Mark Spears was exiting the list, he brings himself right back. More importantly, this is a MegaCon exclusive. This is the second print of the famous, how do you say his name? Marko Duredovic, UF4 variant. This is from 2025 Keen Spot. This book is already selling for $150, and that's what its fair market value is right now. No, there are no graded copies because it literally came out this weekend. On the trendy list, it came out number 4 for cover price. The sales volume of this book's at 20% with a hype level of high. I knew there were going to be people searching those Mark Spears variants that were coming out of MegaCon. What do you thought? Did you think this was going to be one of them?
Oh, I didn't know about this one, but I have no doubt that it will be. I actually just filled out my previews for whenever it's due, and I specifically went through and searched for all I could find for them. And strangely enough, there's no monsters from Keen Spot. So I'm not sure if it just is taking a break or if it ended at whatever issue it's going to be, the last one, 5 or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think it was right now. I think it's at 8 issues. So that's what I come to know right now at the moment. So we'll see. But yeah, this is a MegaCon exclusive. It's fine to me. I'm not excited over this one. It feels just like one of the regular ones. It doesn't have that same feeling that the others have. Obviously, it is an homage, so take it with it what it's worth. But to me, it's fine. It's not to die for.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean.
I sent you the link, but just to mention here, if anybody wants to watch it, Swaggle House did a really good full interview. It's about almost an hour and a half with Mark Spears. Really cool to listen to if you have a chance. I haven't watched the full one yet. I watched a little one that he released that was about half an hour.
Yeah,
very interesting.
Yeah, I saw a clip of it. I said he was talking a little bit about his success and how nobody wants him, but now everybody wants him. So anyway, number 9, Mark Spears Monsters. Number 2, the MegaCon exclusive. Let's take a look at number 8. I just mentioned this, and I figured I was going to mention it again. Earth X number 12. This book came out back in 2000 from Marvel Comics. This book had last sold for $229 at a 9.8. The fair market value of this book is about $38 raw, while 9.8s are going for about $260. This book is on the trending list for Key Collector at number 8. Number 7 on CBSI, and the sales volume of this book's at 27%. The hype level of this book is at a high because this has everything to do with Fantastic Four spec. Though we did not see Silver Surfer in any capacity in this trailer, we know that there is a Silver Surfer coming. We just don't know what she will look like.
Yeah, and this is her first appearance, Shalaba. And you can just imagine when this news broke for this issue. I remember it, whatever, a couple of years ago when the movie was announced and that was kind of released. Stores probably have boxes of these books somewhere because I had never heard of this series until that news broke.
Yeah, I have this series, so I collect. So this is a series that was taken from Alex Ross. Alex Ross had a big hand in this series. That's why the cover's in Alex Ross. And what they did was they asked Alex Ross, "How would you do Kingdom Come in Marvel?" And it was part of a Wizard thing. So Wizard Comic Magazine was they approached Alex Ross and they say, "How would you do it?" And then he says, "Well, this is the way I would do it." They kind of knew firsthand what they were doing, and then they created Earth X. In Earth, this series ended up being a trilogy of series. So there's Earth X, there's Universe X, and then there's Paradise X, and it just morphed into that. So with this one, he decided to make both Silver Surfers in this story where Shalaba and Norrin Radd are together, but this is the first time we get to see Shalaba as a surfer, and it's expected that she will be the Silver Surfer in this upcoming movie, which is set in an alternate reality. That hasn't been confirmed, but we all know it kind of is. So
yeah.
Some people are accepting that. Some people are like Dee is saying here, I prefer Norrin Radd, and I think most of us will prefer Norrin Radd.
Yeah, you kind of hope that at some point there will be an appearance, and because it's an alternate universe, which we're going to be talking about a lot of alternate universes tonight for sure, because I've seen some of the lists and there's a lot there. Mm-hmm. But I'm with Dee on that one. Like anybody that hasn't read the Mobius two-parter of Silver Surfer, just go and find it. Like it's out there. It's easy to find. It is really good.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at our next book at number 7. That's Captain America 25. This is the one that came out in 2014 from Marvel Comics. $20 raw was the last recorded sales. Fair market value of this book is $19 raw, while 9.8s are going for $98. This is on the trending list for key collector number 5 and number 2 in cover price. The sales volume is 68%. The hype level is at a medium. This book is here simply because we got Captain America Brave New World debuting this week. And so far, reviews have been optimistic. They're not saying it's great, but they're not saying it's bad.
This is the point in the pre-release of any kind of recent Marvel movie where everybody is like, oh! They're all holding their breath. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of reflected in the hype level, right? It's kind of everybody's waiting to see, like, is Harrison Ford Red Hulk going to look good? Or is it going to be, more newer special effects that is going to look bad? I'm going to see this on Friday with my kids, so I'll probably do a little bit of a review after.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on Thursday. That's when we got tickets, so we got an evening ticket for the movie. So we usually see them on Thursdays. I'm more surprised we haven't seen this book earlier. It takes it to the very last week before the movie's debut that this book's on the list. I would have figured this book would have been on the list a lot sooner. We've been getting more Red Hulk covers than anything. And even at one time, we even got the Serpent Society, which ended up being, they got shafted. But nothing on the leader who's in the movie. And nothing. And this book itself, it's not really, until now, it's not trending. It wasn't trending. Yeah. So I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was kind of everybody taken a step back when all of the news of the reshoots and the extensive kind of rewriting was going on. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a little bit of trepidation by people in the market wise anyway, to wait and see how it performs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see. Captain America 25, number 7 on our list. And before we move on, I paid Legion of Comics to be here, so he's here. How much I paid him, that's going to be an undisclosed amount. We have an NDA for that payment. Let's move on to number 6. Spawn 360, the MegaCon 25 sketch variant. This book came out in 2025, this weekend, in fact, for Image Comics. $91 raw was the last recorded sale. The fair market value of this book is at $188 raw. This came in number 10 in key collector and number 10 in cover price. Wasn't even available when CBSI did their list. The sales volume of this book is at 62%, and the hype level is high. This is our second MegaCon exclusive book.
Yeah, and you know, you can't lose right now with the black and white exclusive, whether it's a ratio or whatever, of anything McFarlane related, it seems.
Yeah, and this is a great book to show a sketch cover. So it's the Brett Booth sketch cover of 360. I think it was great to see it at MegaCon. It was being sold by MegaCon. MegaCon themselves were selling it for $40. So it was available to be picked up for $40. And it's a Spawn comic. Like most Spawn comics during a convention, they sell out.
Yeah, and especially this one because it's the first one that McFarlane takes over the writing duty. So it's kind of the start of a new thing. So it's a great point, and it's kind of in the media that way. So it's also adding to the hype level.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So go check it out. Do you think it's going to maintain the prices that it's holding right now?
This is one of those ones that I'm sure they printed a bunch of them, and most people going to MegaCon are not going to be destroying stuff they're buying, or but it'd be interesting to see if they let us know how many they actually printed. I mean, that would kind of have a bearing on it for sure.
Well, the other thing with Spawn is a rare case where they usually maintain their value. Usually. Most of those books maintain. Now, with all books, there's like a super hype around it. So therefore, it will dip a little bit. However, I don't see it dipping too much because, again, the Spawn fan base is huge. And they want everything.
Yeah, and those books, those previous ones, like the ratios and the other black and white, they're still holding strong, like the Gunslinger and the other McFarlane limited one.
I agree. I come clean. He gave me an eye of the year. Worth it. What's up, Haza or Hazu? Hazu. All right. I have 8 and 7. Wow, 8 and 7 on the way. Cool. That's awesome. Oh, we got a little emoji there. That's cool. I assume there's 3 to 5K print run. I'm leaning towards that. That's quite possible. I don't think there's more than 5K though. That's for sure. And we got Comic Verse in the house. What's up, Tony? Hey, Tony, my man, Tony. What's going on, my man? Anyway, let's take a look at number 5. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 1. This came out in 2025. Marvel Comics, $14 raw was the last recorded sale. The fair market value of this book is at $10. There's no recorded slabs at the moment. This is on the trending list for CBSI for number 6 and number 5 in cover price. Sales volume of this book's at 111%. The hype level is at a medium. We are 4 episodes in. I'm enjoying it.
Izzy, I got to tell you, I think I sent you something, but man, I just kind of binged watched everything. I think there's one more. I think there's 5 now. And it is awesome. I love it. Like, I think it's really good. I actually bought the song, the opening song, the theme off of iTunes, because it is a great mix of the 67 show, which I grew up on, and newer type of stuff. I just think it's great. And it's really cool to watch it. Knowing that it's in an alternate universe, like I said earlier, this is another book that they've kind of twisted things a little bit. And, it's 5 episodes in, so I think we can say Norman Osborn's in it. And he's not the character that you expect, but you expect him to be that character. So it's just like every time I show him, I'm like, is this when he's going to turn? Is this when?
But as we're watching it, without giving too much away, we know Norman Osborn's character, right? His role in this show in comparison to the MCU. But then he does it twice. So when they did it again for it, when he finds something, he learns about something, right? Uh, and I'm watching it, and then my wife is looking at me, and we had the exact same thought. Is he the guy in the chair? You know what I mean? And it was like, wait a minute, they just pulled that one off too. So you have that parallel as well. Um, what I'm enjoying about the story is I'm seeing new characters in it. So I don't have any investment on those characters, but I'm enjoying the show for what it's worth. Um, as well, one of the things I did notice, if you go into HBO, it's not HBO Max, so I take it back, it's Disney Plus. And you know how when before you start the show, they have like the wallpaper with Spider-Man, and he's in that Future Foundation costume.
Yep.
But behind him, you have the Slingers, which is these alter ego costumes that he was wearing during the time that he couldn't be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So when those episodes drop, would those books be spec books?
I hope so, because I own them.
And I saw them. I was like, wait a minute.
There's lots of
no one's seeing this.
Yeah, there's
you know what I mean?
Easter eggs. And the thing I when you were saying that, it reminded me, like I think the thing that I like the most about it is how well written Peter Parker is. He's a kid, but again, this is an early episode, so it's not really spoiling anything. Like when he decides to welcome Osborn, like it's not like he's not sheepish about it. He's kind of in control. He's like, okay, well, you're part of the team. Like,
welcome to Team Spider-Man. He's like,
yeah, like
he's the only team member.
Yeah. I just thought it was really well done. Like his character, the relationship with his aunt, like all that stuff, I just think is really well done. And I don't know why, for whatever reason, that more people aren't talking about this show. I just don't. Like, I feel like I have to go now and do something about this show because I don't see anything about it. I just think it's really good.
And it's one of those things, like he's not in his, his traditional costume, but you're starting to see the elements of that happening in the show.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that stands out. And I'm the first one to say I'm not a fan of this costume that he's wearing, but I see what they're going for and where they're taking this. So he will eventually get his costume. The only thing that I'm curious about is really, are they going to do the Great Responsibility line? Because he doesn't seem to have it here. We know what happened in the movie.
Yeah, I think that it's already happened. They just haven't revealed it yet. And I think that's going to be one of the great things. And again, it goes to the writing of the character now, because every once in a while he'll drop a little hint about why he's kind of doing it. And again, going back to the scene with Osborn and him, where he turns him down in the restaurant, and Osborn's like, whoa, like, okay, I respect that. Mm-hmm. Like, so I think that it's already happened. Whatever happened with Uncle Ben has already been done. They just haven't shown us, which I think is cool too.
And to your point, there have been glimpses, right? That there was the conversation between him and Aunt May in the car where they mentioned Ben, and the only thing you really saw was her ring sparkled.
Yeah.
Right? That was intentional, of course, right?
The ring and then the little tear, and then that's when all of us got lemons.
We all, yeah.
Right, Legion.
Just like that. Right? But then they did it again when she's going to, she's going to give away the stuff, and they showed the jersey, the bowling shirt, and it said Ben on it. So we are seeing glimpses of that. We are seeing in the opening credit scene the wrestling match and little things that led up to that moment. So I'm excited for it. I think the show is great. It's fun. The animation, I'm still not 100% on it, because there's moments where I'm like, I just don't like the way hair looks in this cartoon. But that's a minor nitpick on my part.
Yeah. And as for the book, I have enjoyed it. I've bought all of them. I've read them. I think it's a good companion to the show. I definitely liked reading them before I watched the show.
Mhm.
I don't know what their plan is. I think it's maybe 5 issues or something like that, because
Yeah.
it's supposed to fill in some gaps, which is great too. The animation, I do agree with you. It's kind of growing on me, and I thought the same thing about the hair. I'm like, I don't know, but it is consistent though. That's
Mhm.
what I do appreciate.
Yeah. So there you have it. Number 5, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #1. Let's take a look at number 4. He didn't leave yet.
Yeah,
Spawn 356, the Mark Spears variant. This book came out in 2024 for Image Comics. Ah, damn it! I have a typo.
there's one. We both missed that one.
That's a bad typo. What was the last sale of this book?
Oh wait, I don't have this list, so it's okay. I can't be
um,
blamed for this one.
no, we were last minute. Ah, man, I was trying to avoid the typos. I'll get the last recorded sale of this book right now. So, wow, what a it did not sell for $2,524. $20. Last recorded sale of this book was $20 at a raw. Fair market value of this book is $31 raw. 9.8 is still commanding $56. I'm a little shocked by that. So we still haven't seen slab sell yet. It is on the trending list for CBSI at number 4. What's keeping this book on this list really is that sales volume of 194%, which of course, because it's Spawn and Mark Spears.
And because we keep talking about it.
We keep talking about it, and everybody keeps talking about it. Swagglewaz is talking about it now. The hype level is high for this book. This is the rare occasion where this book is hot for 2 reasons, not just one.
Yeah, and if I remember, I'm going to try to remember. I am going to look for a 9.8 that I can get in Canada, and if I can get it anywhere near that price, I'm just going to buy it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be hard. I think they're actively selling them now because the book exists.
Yeah.
In 9.8, it's just that it hasn't really sold just yet because it would have been on the list by now. Mm-hmm. So there you have it. Spawn 356, Mark Spears, number 4. At number 3, Magic the Gathering, The Shadow Maze, number 1. This book came out in 1995 for Armada Comics. Wow, that's a they no longer exist, guys. Their $5 raw was the last recorded sale. Fair market value of this book is at $11 raw. 9.8 is going for $110. Trending list, number 3 in Key Collector, number 2 in CBSI, number 3 in Cover Price. The sales volume is 85%, and the hype level is low. I'll tell you why it's low. Because it's not selling. It was option, and there's word now that they're going to be making some properties out of it, and this is an option buy. So word got out, and now the book is selling, but there really aren't that many sales for this book. And if the book is $5,
yeah, if you're a fan, especially compare this one to the Spawn book, it's about a 10 times value increase for the 9.8, whereas the Spawn is 2 times. It's barely the cover cost. So if you had some of these, and they're supposed to be doing like a whole universe type thing, and if that happened to blow up, there is people that really like this stuff, and it's a tie-in with a different property. So for this price, again, we say it all the time, but if I'm standing in a room and I can pick up this book for $11, I'd pick it up.
Here's something that you need to know that a lot of people don't know about this book. This book might actually sell better raw than it's slabbed. And here's why. The book came polybagged with a Magic the Gathering card attached to it. That makes it complete. If it's on a slab, the card is missing. And the people that are probably going to be buying this book are going to be the ones that want the card. So therefore, the slab is not going to matter.
Do you know, is it a random card, or is it the same card in every issue?
Last I heard, it's the same card. It's the same card. And it's for those people who play Magic, I don't. It's an okay card. It's not like I got, all this power now.
Yeah.
Whatever, again, I don't play Magic, so I can't tell you what it is. I got friends that play Magic. I just don't. I got invited to play Magic, and I was like, you know what I mean? Not my thing, not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But it is. All right. I got it in the poly for 6 Canadian. Oh, good. Congratulations. Nice. What's up, Comic Cap Collectibles? How you doing, Rich? Rich has been pulling out those videos, man, with those comics, man. He just did the Rhodey comic. Really excited how that came out. So, thanks a lot, Rich. All right. Number 3. It's time for number deuce. And we're going to Fantastic Four 49. This book came out in 1966 from Marvel Comics. The last recorded sale of this book lasts $4,750 at 9.0 PGX. Fair market value of this book is $626 at a very good, while 4.5 are going for about $566. This is number 1 on Key Collector, number 3 in CBSI, not on cover price, surprisingly. And the sales volume of this book's at 69%. The hype level of this book is at a high. This is classic blue chip Fantastic Four cover.
Great cover. Yeah, it's a Kirby one too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I figured. I love it. If I could get like just like any of those early superhero runs like Thor or this or X-Men, like of course you want like the first 10 issue. Every issue is important and looks awesome. So
yeah. And this cover, man. This has got to be one of the best covers Kirby has ever did.
Yeah, I like a lot of his covers. I really like Demon #1, I think is another great one.
Yeah, Demon #1's a great one. This one's a great one. New Gods #1, I think, is one of his best covers.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Incredible Hulk 1, of course.
Yeah.
But there's something about this cover that's just so perfect to me. You know what I mean?
Could need a Kirby spotlight, Izzy. We'll see.
Oh, gosh. We'll be here forever if we did a Kirby spot.
Could take 6 hours.
It's like this is part 27 of Kirby Spotlight. Look at that. Legion of Comics flexing his muscles there. Ooh, I got that effort. Nice. Are you going to put that as a giveaway item someday? Imagine. We got Joffrey Castro in the house as well. Welcome, Joffrey. So, what could possibly be number 1 if Fantastic 49 is number 2?
Maybe Jeff the Shark?
Unfortunately, Jeff did not make the list. But someone else did. And that is Herbie the Robot. Fantastic Four 209 from 1979 Marvel Comics. A raw last sold for $10. Fair market value of this book is $17 raw. 9.8 is going for about $144. This is number 2 on Key Collector, number 1 on CBSI, number 1 on cover price. The sales volume of this book is at 103%. The hype level is high. Herbie outperformed Galactus.
Yeah. My local shop has this book. It's just it's a really rough one. It's only like $10, or they have it as $10. It's just too much money for the condition it's in. Yeah. But Herbie, who would figure?
He got this book too. Yo, Mark is rolling in the money right now with Herbie. So why is this book number 1 and not the first appearance of Galactus? I'm just saying.
I found the whole thing interesting because I just learned about it when all this hype around him started, but that he originally was brought in for the show because they didn't want to have a kid on fire.
Yeah, so the overall opinion was that they created Herbie for the cartoon series that they had. So they had multiple cartoon series, but in this, there was an original 60s cartoons that did feature Johnny Storm, but then they did another cartoon series, and in that cartoon series, they couldn't feature Johnny Storm because they were afraid that kids were going to set themselves on fire. That the kids were going to set themselves on fire, so they decided to nix Johnny out of the Fantastic Four, and they gave Herbie as a replacement for the Fantastic Four. And now he's an honorary, Fantastic Four member. This is the book that he makes his first appearance. Another important note about this book, and we talked about this book as well, is this is the very first John Byrne Fantastic Four book, which I think is even more important to note.
Yeah, that's cool. And I definitely would pick up a better version of this book for sure. And it's like Legion says, it's a little cheaper, so it's more available to everybody.
Yeah, and I picked this book up last year at a convention I was in, and I picked it up for like $10 too. So I agree, this book is outperforming because it's more affordable. So therefore, you have more sales of this book than 49. 49 has impressive numbers right now because it's selling at the price that it's selling for, and that makes it important. Is that a myth? That's a myth. Is it? I remember hearing about that story plenty of times, but overall, that's the list. What a list it is, man. You guys tell me, what do you think about the ranking system? Which books do you have? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for next week's ranking. Will Galactus outperform Herbie? Will the Thunderbolts show up in this list, being that they showed up in the Super Bowl trailer? And what other books are we going to see in this list? More MegaCon exclusives? Who's to say? Go check it out and leave your comments as well. And with that, boof, that's one down. Yes, it's a myth. I got picked up by people. Human Torch, right? Held with. Yeah, I heard about that too. I heard about that, but they gave The Thing a show. You ever seen the Thing show?
No, I don't remember that one like that. I do remember the Fantastic Four one, but I don't remember a Thing one.
Go look up the Thing cartoon. It is awful because he transforms, and he has two rings, and he has this. This is how bad it was. Ring thing, do your thing. So kind of like what is it? From Super Friends.
Our Grayskull?
No, the two.
Oh, the Wonder
Twins. The Wonder Twins. It's like the Wonder Twins that they will put their rings together and they'll form of. Well, he did it like ring thing, do your thing, and then he turns into the Thing. It was bad. You know what I mean?
That's good. I might have to find that clip.
I think the kids' toys in the 60s, no one was worried about lighting themselves up. I would have loved to have seen it, though. I would have made Johnny Storm on flame. Mom, I need another Johnny Storm.
Now with gasoline.
Complete. Oh, there's a great SNL guy. Dan Aykroyd does this character where he's supposed to sell these really bad toys, and one of the bad toys was glass in a bag. And it literally was glass in a bag. Good stuff. Great stuff. That was our first one. I just want to let everybody know that I'm going to be hanging out this weekend at Cosmic Con. That's going to be this weekend, Metropolitan Pavilion in the city. That's in 18th Street. I'll be there for the weekend. I will be tabling and I'll be doing some sketches. I'll have some giveaways and stuff like that. Also, I'm going to help support Comics Curing Cancer by doing donations for sketches. We're going to be having a blast. There's going to be guys like DJ Links is going to hang out for a little bit there, and a couple of people from the local community here in New York City. If you are in New York City, come by, stop by. It's going to be fun. It's a great Comic-Con. Just go check it out. It's a great spot, too. The spot is fantastic. So that's happening this weekend.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I wish I was a little closer. I would go.
Take the train, man. Take the train. What's a train ride? What, $20?
Oh,
something like that. Yeah,
probably a couple $100.
I don't know. We'll have to look at that. We have to check that out. I would tell Chris to come over, but he went to Kansas City. But who knows? Anyway, with that down, we're going to do our next segment, and that is 30, 60, 90. Whew, are we going to be talking about the same books again? Who knows? But let's go ahead and find out. This week's 30, 60, 90, we got some really fun books there. We got Magic, Spawn, and Spider-Boy. Here we are talking about Spawn again. Overall, one of the things I will say about all three books is that they are maintaining their value, which is a rarity when we do this segment. So let's go ahead and start it off with that first book, and that's Magic. Magic #1 is the Marvel Rivals variant. This came out in 2025 from Marvel Comics. On January 13th, this book was #1, and it had a top weekly sale of $40 near mint. During that week, it sold 43 units, and the raws were going roughly about $33. There was no reported slabs for the book since the book was brand new. As of today, the book is going for $50, and that was the last recorded sale of the book on the 8th of February. It sold 115 comics since that time period, and the raws are going for about $44 raw, and graded copies are going for $120. In fact, the 120 is the highest known sale that happened on January 3rd. As of today, there's only 3 comics in the census. Magic.
Well, this one, I think these rival books are going to hold or increase most likely, because in the previews, the new Rivals comic, likely reprinting the online stuff, is coming out. So there's going to be more attention, and more people are going to be then looking back for these issues.
Yeah, and this one will still hold because Magic is still a popular character. It's not going to die until the hype around Marvel Rivals dies. So for the time being, we're going to keep this momentum. Will it steady? I think it's going to stay leveled now. I think 50 is a good point for this book. It might drop down a year or two from now, but I think for $50 is probably where you're going to find this book. I wouldn't spend more than 40 on this book, however, if it was me personally, but 50 is not too bad.
No, and again, I cursed myself because I had this in my hand and I put it back on the shelf. So
yeah, me too, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I was like, what's up, Joe? Evening, work on the water pipe beginning tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed we have. Yeah, man. Best of luck with that, man. I heard a lot of bad stuff happen to you, man. Wish you the best. What's up, Alex? Alex was our winner for the giveaway box. He just signed up for the Rat Pack, so welcome. This is our chance to say welcome to the Rat Pack, Alex, and congratulations on your win.
Awesome.
Alex, let me know which character you're most interested in so you can get your sketch comic. All right. Let's take a look at the book that was hot 60 days ago. And that's Spawn #1. This book came out in 1992 for Image Comics. When it was #1 was December 9th, and that was almost 60 days ago. The top weekly sale of the book was 169 and 9.8. During that week, 110 units were sold. Raws were going for $21 near mint, while graded copies were going for $155 at a 9.8. As of today, the book is going last sold for $32, and it had a growth of 284 copies sold since that time frame. Raws are $26 now, while graded copies dropped to $133. Now, the highest known value of this book is at $9,995, but that is at the beautiful 9.9. That was on December 1st, 2021. Currently, there's 35,317 copies of this book in the census. Just to give you a little more insight, there's currently 6 number 10s, and there are 79 9 9.9s of Spawn number 1.
Look at the numbers for CGC. It's unbelievable. And I mean, I agree. Like, this is a classic book. Everybody should read Spawn. I thought it was great. I remember all the hype when it was coming out, and there was no internet like then, and everybody was talking about this book. So it is, for me, I can remember when it came out and the hype around it and all that, and it's really kind of a good memory. So I have a special place in my heart for this. I kept getting it till about 100 issue 169, and then kind of stopped for a while for some reason I don't know. And I'm back in now that Todd's writing.
Yeah, when this book came out, it was the hottest selling book of its time. Todd can't do any wrong, as we say at the moment, right?
Yeah.
But it was a special occasion. It was the highest selling indie book of all time. It is still considered to be the highest selling indie book of all time. And the numbers prove it. There's 35,000 copies in the census. 79 at 9.9. That's insane.
I know. Unbelievable. Yeah. Even having 610s, especially like we've all, like, except for Joe, apparently have seen this book. Like, the paper is not like, it's not cardstock on the cover. It's like a regular floppy. So to get a 10, but it's so cheap and there's so many made, like, you can just see people just sending 25 at a time and crossing their fingers.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that 35 also includes signed books. So that's a combined number of books. But man, that's why the book is going for like $26. Really, it's because there's so many copies. They made this book in the millions. So why should you owe that much for a book that there's millions of copies? It's not exactly rare. So, Spawn number 1, that was 60 days. Let's take a look at our last book, which was 90 days. That's Spider-Boy 11 from Marvel Comics. The book came out in 2024. During November 11, it was number 1, and it had a top weekly sale of $60 at a 9.8. It sold 43 units during that week. The Raws were going for $26 near mint, while graded copies were already selling for $64. As of today, the book has dropped to about $13. That was the last recorded sale. 115 copies have sold since that time frame, and $18 near mint Raws, $86 for 9.8. So that actually went up. The highest known value of this book is $120 at a CGC 9.8. In fact, I've got to put that in that list too. And CGC Census currently has this at 53 copies.
Yeah, so this, again, I just went through my previews and I was ruthless in my first round, and I chopped this book out of my pull list. I have this one, but I have a variant cover, and it's always amazing to me that it's this cover that is getting the attention. And we've talked about that before. But yeah, I don't mind it, but Spider-Boy, I don't know.
Well, it's not really Spider-Boy. It's about that girl. Yeah. So, it's the girl who would become Spider-Girl. And that's why this book is demanding that value. It's Paco Medina. It's actually a cover A that people are hunting for because of the image of that girl, who many believe is the new Spider-Girl character. Overall, the book is fine. I have my copy as well. $86 is a good increase for the book at a 9.8. But the book is selling for $18 near mint. So I'll get the raw over the grade if I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there you have it, guys. That's your 30, 60, 90 for this week. It's not a bad list. Not a bad list at all.
And you know what's interesting about that list? For the first time in a long time that I can remember, is there isn't an absolute title in
it. That is true. I promise you, we will talk about Absolute again.
Oh, yeah.
And there goes Joe. She can do magic. She can do anything. I mean, anything. And to Alex's point, Spawn number 1 will always be a hot seller. That is correct. It is always on the top 10 list. The real top 10 list. So And poor Joe. Poor Joe. I'm sure things will pick up. I know he has to deal with the pipe issue, but
Yeah.
man, if I knew that, I would have got him a Spawn. So, what I was going to tell you is that with all these books of Spawn, when will that book actually be like of value? Do you think you'll actually hit that value marker?
I don't think so. I think it's kind of destined to be. I wouldn't put it on the same level as like the Death of Superman one, but I think it's printed in the same type of level as like an X-Men one, where there'll always be interest in it, and it's a great cover, and it's a #1 issue. But there's just so many out there that you're going to be able to find it fairly easily.
It's also historic, right? It may not be the first Image Comics. You know, Rob Liefeld has that credit with Youngblood, but it is the most sought after Image comic. It is and it's also a book that is still running today, which is something that doesn't really happen with Image Comics.
Yeah.
So kudos to Todd.
I really value that aspect of his like business mind, where he's not constantly rebooting it. Like every time there's a creator change, like he could have easily at 360 started it again at #1 and launched it as like, I'm writing it now, we're starting over volume 2, like, and done a whole bunch of variant covers. But I respect that he didn't do that. Like, I like that. It makes me that makes it easier for me to support it by buying it.
Yeah. So now it's time to move on to our next segment. But before we do that, I got to show you guys the poll. So we had a poll. We always run a poll around this time, so be expecting a poll perhaps tomorrow or Wednesday for the next Creator Spotlight. But we decided that this week we were going to do classic horror artists from the 70s. It was between Gene Colan, Mike Ploog, Tom Sutton, and Bernie Wrightson. And with 69%, and no surprise really, out of 83 votes, the winner was, of course, Bernie Wrightson. Were you surprised by that?
Ploog!
You were going for Ploog?
I had to, because I love Ghost Rider, so I had to go with Ploog.
What is the first appearance? Well, the true first appearance would have to be Spawn #1. The Malibu Sun is our first view of him. So there's no debate that one, you know what I mean? Classic what? I'm gonna put it as Copper Age classic.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. And everyone should have their copy of Spawn #1. But going back to Creative Spotlight, so we're going to be doing a Creative Spotlight on Bernie Wrightson. I'm excited. There's some good stuff to show. Really good stuff. So here we are, Creative Spotlight. Classic horror. You know my accent is always going to get in the way. Welcome to Creator Spotlight. This is by far the best segment of the night. This is the one I think most people are looking forward to. Our focus for today is on Bernie Wrightson. And what a career, dude. What a career.
Yeah. As usual, I ran my CLZ and cover price and just kind of pulled just his name. You can do that when you get into a cover that they've done, and it'll bring up all the covers you have. I don't have that many. I only have 14, but the ones that I have are like near and dear to my heart, as like most of them are series. I have the whole series, which we're going to talk about some of them, and the one standalone one too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this because classic horror, as you know,
As I
Horror.
say,
I can't even do it.
horror. It's horror.
Right.
I can't help it. It comes out that way. I try. I do my best.
That's
But,
fine.
it's character. It builds
We have
character.
the same thing on the east coast of Canada. You say aunt,
Aunt,
but out
or
here you
aunt.
say aunt.
It depends. I
Yeah.
could go either way. I usually say aunt.
Yeah.
I usually say aunt. Or titi. That's what I say because I say it in Spanish. Titi. So, oh well. Where were we? What's each of your guys' top Wrightson in your PC? That's funny because I don't have much Wrightson. You talking about yours? I don't have as much either. But what I can say, what I have is one that I enjoy because of its not one of the better ones, but for good reasons. And I like the fact that I have it. And we will definitely talk about that one here. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the man, the myth, the legend. Bernie Wrightson passed away in 2017, was a legendary comic book artist renowned for his intricate, atmospheric horror illustrations. His detailed pen and ink style with masterful use of light and shadow brought chilling realism to his subject defining horror comics in 1970s and beyond. He co-created Swamp Thing, a character synonymous with his art in House of Secret 92. His Swamp Thing series solidified his reputation. Wrightson also contributed in Warren's Creepy and Eerie, adapting classics like Poe's work. We'll talk more about that later. Beyond horror, Wrightson's tackled diverse projects, including Batman stories like The Cult and Nevermore, showcasing his versatility. He also illustrated Frankenstein, considered a masterpiece, and collaborated with Stephen King on projects like Creepshow and Cycle of the Werewolf. Wrightson's influence on comic art is immeasurable. He evocative, see, now I can't even speak right. His evocative imagery includes to inspire. Explore his captivating work online by searching Bernie Wrightson's art or visiting fan sites dedicated to his art. When it comes to Bernie Wrightson, obviously he doesn't have a website, a proper website. So you can find his work throughout the internet. It's all over. It's plastered everywhere. If you do hashtag Bernie Wrightson art, you're going to find his art. And one of the things I would say about his art style is his penmanship is on a level that cannot be touched.
Yeah, like it's just, and we're going to get into a lot of the covers, especially the painted look is amazing. And when you get into the oversized books where he's really got more room, it's just amazing.
Yeah. And dare I say it, his work looks better black and white because he does this thing with the pen that a lot of people wouldn't even dare to do. He was a master at cross hatching in a way that no one was able to do. And his style was very different to many others. And it fit the horror genre perfectly like a glove. So let's take a look at his work. But before I do that, JSS Brooklyn's in the house. He made it just in time for this, right? Woohoo! Yeah, and what a legacy this man leaves behind. Yeah, it's gorgeous stuff. There's going to be stuff here that I had to do some further research to get the numbers for because they don't exist in the traditional way we would normally search it. But I'm happy to give you something. All right. Starting with his first published work, and that's Creepy #9. This came out in 1966 from Warren Publishing. This book at a high sale of $15.60 at a 9.6. That was on October 16th of 2023. The last sale of this book was $99 at a 7.5, and that was in January. This book at a raw sells for $29. So, and by the way, these are the common figures. These are like the average. So when you average it out, this is what you're going to find it for the most part. Sometimes you can find it for more, sometimes you find it for less, but this is the average. $29 at a fine for a raw, and $99 at a 7.5 because there really wasn't that many sold in graded. This is considered his first public sketch by Bernie Wrightson, published in a fan mail section, and it also featured a Frank Frazetta cover.
This is, I think, one of the most expensive first works that we've seen in the spotlight that I can remember anyway.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, we're going to go higher.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But what's important about this is that this is not published paid art. It's published, of course, because it's in the fan mail. However, it is not. He wasn't paid for this art. He provided this as fan mail, and they put it out, and then eventually hired him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love that type of story.
Mm-hmm. Right. Next book is his first published work in comics, and that's House of Mystery 197. This book came out in 1969 for DC Comics. This book, $1,750 at a 9.2 was the highest sale of this book, and that was November 30th of 2024. The last sale of this book was $35 in very, very good condition. That was earlier in February. The raw goes for about $41, very good. 8.0 goes for about $450. This is his first interior art by Bernie Wrightson. It is a 3-page story written by Marv Wolfman entitled The Man Who Murdered Himself. What a title. Cover art is Neil Adams.
Yeah, another awesome book, cool cover, and expensive too.
Yeah, it's expensive at a 9.2, but not expensive in standard format. You get this at a raw for under $50. I think you got a gem.
Yeah, and I'm surprised with the pre-code horror being so popular that you don't see more of Wrightson's work getting a spotlight, because so much of it has that tone.
Yeah, but he's post-code.
Yeah.
So his stuff comes from afterwards. So good stuff there. Our next book is Legend #1. This came out in 1970. This is an indie title. I had to do some digging for this one. $75 is what I found it at Nearman. That was the highest sale, and that was January of this year. That is the last sale of the book. $50 it goes on average. These numbers are coming out of eBay. I try searching for this book in other outlets like Cover Price and Go Collect. I couldn't find it, but I did find it on eBay, so therefore it counts. This is considered his first cover art. It's also interior art for The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and not Sleep Hollow. Ugh. I just caught that now.
Yeah. This is a good one, and you know, I love that cover. And again, that's not a bad price for a first work. Definitely looks like it's a magazine size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a magazine size. Yeah, it's look at that. If you look at that horse, man, that horse is vicious. Look at that face, almost like a wolf. That's how good he is, man. I would love to see this in black and white.
Yeah, I love those when they do that with all the absolute editions or the omnibuses where they show some of the pages where it's just the line art.
Because his line art is the best. Let's take a look at our next one. Chamber of Darkness #7. This came out in 1970 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book was $1,100 at a 9.8, and that was in November of 2018. The last sale of this book was $3, and that's at a no grade. It's also $11 at a very good grade, and $132 at 9.4 is the most common grade that we see. This is his first artwork for Marvel Comics.
I love you finding these, because again, $11 you can get his first work. I say it every time we talk about this, but this type of searching and finding artists' first work is kind of a little known or little pursued type of thing, but I love finding these books.
Yeah, and Chamber of Darkness, again, he's notorious for these titles. So you don't normally see him on the traditional superhero comics. He's done them, but not traditionally. He's usually on these horror books that, as of today, people are picking them up, more so. But Chamber of Darkness, it's not exactly a must-have title. Maybe
No.
for some, it's a very niche audience,
Yeah.
and you could have his very first Marvel comic for $11. Even though 9.8 at 1,000 isn't too bad, it's not too shabby. So, let's go to our next book here, the big one, House of Secret 92. This came out in 1971 for DC Comics. A high sale of this book was $90,000 at a 9.8. That was September of 2021. The last sale of this book was $600 at a 1.8 in February 9th of 2025. You could get a raw copy at a very good at $798, which is the average, and 7.0 is the average for graded copies at $1,975. This is the first appearance of the Swamp Thing, Alex Olsen. Here's another important nugget. This is also his first DC cover.
Well, I mean, we should all pick it up just because of that then.
Yeah, I think I got a couple of $1,000 just laying around there somewhere. When I saw that this is his first DC cover, I was shocked.
Yeah. I mean, way to start with a bang.
Mm-hmm. His biggest bang too, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And there goes Mark. I got that House of Secret. I got one too. I got a copy. It's called a facsimile. you would refer to it as a reprint. Oh Lord, it's the Gargoyle from Tales of the Dark Side movie. And Christina Payne is in the house doing the Lord's work. I now have some of these on my watch list on the bay. Yeah, man. And really that's the point of this segment. So that you can hunt these books down and not overpay for them. Really. But so Swamp Thing. Let's talk a little bit about Swamp Thing. During this exact same time, there was another character being formed, and his name was Man Thing. So, what's your thoughts on the two?
So it's interesting because a few years ago, I always try to, especially when the Marvel movies were really firing on all cylinders, before the Comic-Con came up, I always had a plan, like, what am I going to be looking for? And the one year before all of the hype of the Halloween show was coming out, I went after all the early Man-Thing appearances and did some research on it, bought the omnibus. And it's interesting is that they shared a room, the two writers. I don't want to get anybody's name wrong, so I'll just leave it. Somebody in the comments will know, or you'll know. And they both had an idea for this and then went and did their own thing with it. And it's interesting. As a character, I definitely think Swamp Thing is a little bit better because Man Thing is very limited in your writing because it's written that he doesn't really think. He's more of a, just an emotion type thing. So, but I do like both characters, and we're going to see a little bit more of that later.
Yeah. With Man Thing, he has grown to be a different character than what Swamp Thing is. I think with Swamp Thing, starting with Bernie and then Ween, and then eventually getting to Alan Moore. Alan Moore did some things with Swamp Thing that to this day people are going to still talk about, and I think Swamp Thing is slightly more beloved than Man Thing.
Yeah,
and more iconic. They're both Swamp Thing and Man Thing are not the first of its kind as far as swampy characters go. There's a character called the Heap that predates them both that's very similar to this. And if you go even further back, there's another character. I lost the name of that character, but it was one of those it was one of those before Marvel timely comics where they would do, these prototype names or monsters, and there was a monster from the swamp that they created. So it exists, it's out there. But I think out of Swamp Thing and Man Thing, I think though they were very similar when they first came out, they now went two different paths.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like, I don't know what issue it would be, and my Swamp Thing history is not the greatest, but when he became the green, right? I think that's really cool because I read Poison Ivy, and that's kind of a key part of that story. So that's always interesting to me too.
Yeah. All right. So House of Secret 92. Let's go to our next one. Our next one is DC 100 page Super Spectacular number 4. This came out in 1971 for DC Comics. An 8.0 sold for $4.25 at the highest sale. That was in November of 2024. This book last sold for $81 at a very good, and it's $52 raw is the average price, and $375 is for a 7.5. This is considered a classic Bernie Wrightson cover.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one before, but I can only imagine how difficult it is to get this in a good grade because of that cover.
Yeah, the blacks, and he does a lot of blacks. So when they do Bernie Wrightson's art, when they color it, there's so much black in the work. But it's a werewolf. Yeah, werewolf teabagging. These covers are just so classic for him. And I'm not going to go over all of them, of course, but this is one that's considered to be one of his top, out of his top 10 of classic covers that don't really have any significant value other than they're considered iconic.
Yeah, it just looks great.
Okay. Our next book is House of Mystery 195. This came out in 1971 for DC Comics. The high of this book was $1,980 at a 9.8, and that was in November of 2024. The last time it sold was for $135 at a very fine, and that was in February. The raws are going for about $50 for very goods, $220 for an 8.5. This is a cover and interior art by Bernie Wrightson. Story title, Things Owed, Things Forgotten. Features a character similar to Swamp Thing and the Heap. So it's kind of like we're doing another Swamp Thing-like character here.
Yeah. Yeah, this one I don't recognize either, but obviously I love that cover. And again, with the black, right? Like being encircled in the wings. Very cool.
Yeah, and I think this cover is, again, iconic. It's a cover I've seen. They've reprinted this book several times. So therefore, people gravitate towards it in that way. But it's a cover sale. And again, there's another swamp-like character in the story in there. So House of Mystery 195. Let's take a look at our next one. Batman 237. This is from 1971 for DC Comics. This book sold at a high at $4,600 at 9.8, and that was in May of 2024. Last time this book sold was on January 2025 for $39, and that was in a good condition. The raws are going for $66, very good, while 9.0s is the average for it, and those go for about $358. This is a fun one, because this is the first appearance of the Reaper, Benjamin Gruen. It's an iconic horror cover and story concept inspired by Bernie Wrightson and Harlan Ellis. Features cameo appearances from Marvel characters like Havoc, Thor, Spider-Man, and Captain America as people in Halloween costumes. What's even more important is that real-life comic creators are drawn into the story. Bernie Wrightson, Jerry Conwell, and Alan Weitz.
I love it when they do little inserts like that, especially being this old, like 1971, and the rivalry between Marvel and DC was still there. Issues like this are just fun, and that cover is amazing. So
yeah, keep note that this is actually a Neil Adams cover, and Bernie Wrightson did the interior work. But it's worth noting the significance of this book. This book, we talked about this book a few weeks ago when we talked about Neil Adams. So this is another one where Bernie Wrightson had his hand on this book too. And more importantly, he's in the book.
Yeah, yeah. His first appearance.
Yeah. Our next book is Weird Mystery Tales #1. This came out in 1972 for DC Comics. A high for this book was $392 at 9.6. That was recent. That was actually the beginning of the month. Last sale, this book was $17 at a very fine, and that was on the 9th of February. The raws are going for $24 at a very good. The graded copies are going for about $265 at a 9.2. This is the first appearance of Destiny, who is later incorporated into Neil Gaiman's Sandman series as one of the Endless. Very important character to the Sandman storyline.
Yeah, and again, you look at $17 you can pick up that for and have that character's first appearance before it kind of gets incorporated. Just a cool thing for sure.
And another thing is, being that we're having the Sandman series coming back from Netflix sometime in the summer, Destiny's in that series. So this book could go up in value because of that.
Yeah.
I personally love Destiny. I think Destiny's an amazing character. I love how he's created and what his purpose is. So personally, one of my favorites. If I see this book, I'm definitely picking it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our next book is Swamp Thing #1. This is another iconic book. This is 1972 for DC Comics. A high sale of this book was $6,000 at 9.8, and that goes back all the way to November 2021. Since then, the last sale of this book was $300 at a 7.5, and that sold on February 9th of this year. The raws are going for $154 at a fine, while graded copies are going for $254 at an 8.5. The key significance: this features the first appearance and origin of the second Swamp Thing, Alex Holland, also cameo from Anton Arcane, first appearance of Matt Cable, who will later become Sandman's Raven. So Matthew the Raven is technically, this is his first appearance. First cameo appearance of the Unmen. First appearance of Nathan Ellery, the man who caused the explosion that created Swamp Thing. And this is, of course, the ongoing Swamp Thing solo series. Wow. That is a lot of first appearances.
Do you need another reason to possibly go buy this book?
Well, if you can't get House of Secret, this is the next best thing, is it?
Yeah.
What a difference, right? 90,000 versus 6,000.
Yeah. And, we talk about slabbing and raw all the time, and, $154 for a fine copy, but at 8.5 at 254, that's a respectable grade in my opinion.
$100 increase.
Yeah.
A book this old from the 70s, 72, the quality of the paper cannot be that great, because the way they were making comics at that time, that paper quality was bad. So
have they done a facsimile of this one?
Oh yeah, it exists.
I'll have to look for it.
Yeah, it's definitely, and they've done multiple covers and stuff like that. Next, Swamp Thing #7. This is another important book. It came out in 1973 for DC Comics. $1,000, $680 for 9.8, the high sale, and that was in August of 2022. Last sale was $10 at a very good. Fair market value of this book is at $45 fine, while 9.4s are going for about $191. This is the first meeting of Swamp Thing and Batman.
Some characters together just kind of are interesting and have good stories and kind of click. And Batman and Swamp Thing are one of those pairs. I personally think, anyway. I love any kind of book that has them, even a tiniest panel together, because I don't read Swamp Thing, but when I was reading Batman and Detective, whenever they were together, I'm like, it was just cool.
There is something to say about Batman as a character, where he seems to work well with the supernatural, even though he himself is not a supernatural character. And I think that's what makes Batman so versatile in that way. there's so many other ways he's versatile, but his meetups with Swamp Things are really good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're really good. And this is one of those books where, though it's not super expensive, and you would consider this a minor key as compared to the other Swamp Thing books, but still, I think there's some significance to this book.
Yeah, I'm just going to go through all these presentations when I go to the Comic-Con and write down a list, and this is another one I'll be looking for.
And it's easy to grab, right? You see it, you know it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, our next book is Swamp Thing number 9. This is 1973 for DC Comics. A high sale of this book is at $630 at 9.8, and that was recently July of 2024. Last sale of this book was $80 near mint. $22 for a fine copy. It's a fair market value. 9.6 goes for about $154. This is an iconic cover by Bernie Wrightson, but it's also his last cover of Swamp Thing.
Oh, interesting. A little, minor key thing there too.
Mm-hmm. And this cover, who doesn't know this cover? If you know Swamp Thing, this is the picture you see all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good. So good.
I wonder did he ever sell any of his original art? Do you know?
It's a possibility. It's out there for sale now that he's no longer with us. So I don't know. I'm sure they're out there though. And
imagine the person that has this, if it's out there, this original art layout, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, and just like I said, how he spots blacks is something that is just masterful. And what's one thing about Bernie Wrightson's art is that he's also self-taught. For someone that's self-taught that knows art the way he does, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Especially during that era. We're talking about the 70s where you didn't have the internet or anything like that.
Yeah.
Eerie 60, 1974 for Warren Publishing. This book at a high is at 185 and 9.6, and that was in October of 2023. Last sale of this book was $15 at a fine, and that was in January of this year. Raw copy goes for about $9 for a very good, while a graded copy goes, I did it again. Let me just fix that. Slide 15 goes for $90. I think that's a 9.0 for $57.
Yeah.
But I have to double check it. Darn it. First cover art by Bernie Wrightson on Eerie. Here's what's important. He was doing work for Creepy and Eerie for Warren Publishing. It wasn't until issue 60 that he gets the cover. Now, I don't think most people know this cover well, but it is a Bernie Wrightson cover. And it took a long time before he actually gets to do the cover, especially with the people that was before him. So there was a lot of different artists before him, and he gets Eerie at this point.
That's a great cover. And again, the value is there for $15, even 57 for a 9.0. I mean, that's great price.
Yeah, and let me just double check because I do have to fix this afterwards, right? So it's Eerie number 60. Yep, I was right. It's $57 at a 9.0. How did I flip that? That's weird. Am I getting dyslexia? That's what that shows me. All right, moving on to our next book, Kong the Untamed number 1. This came out in 1975 for DC Comics. 9.8 sold for $450, and that was the high on April 2024. Last sale of this book was at $2 at a no grade. That's what that NG stands for. And raws are going for $6 fine. A graded copy of this book is at $50 at a 9.6. This is the first appearance of Kong the Untamed. I thought this was just a fun book to throw in there as a little. Here's something for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan and you already have, House of Secrets and Swamp Thing 1 and you like them, I mean, why not try to find this? It's a very affordable book.
Mm-hmm. It's a cool cover too. Look at the anatomy on that character, that Tarzan-like character. This is what I'm talking about. How good of an artist he really is. I say is because you still look at his work in that way. Even though he's no longer with us. All right, let's take a look at our next book, and that is Secrets of Haunted House, number 5, 1975 for DC Comics. 9.2 went for $975, and that was January of this year. No grade copy sold for $28,000. That was the last known sale. Raw's going for $51 at a very good, and 8.0 goes for $214 graded. This is an iconic cover by
with
Bernie
the
Wrightson.
Black, like so much black in there.
It's a lot of black when you see a Bernie Wrightson cover.
Yeah.
But again, the shading, no one does it the same like him.
Yeah. The detail in the pumpkin is great.
Mm-hmm. And as well as the shadow of the pumpkin.
Yeah.
You see underneath it. It's like you don't see it at first, but then you see it. Genius. Pure genius. We defy you to unlock the shocking secrets of Haunted House. You gotta love those trade just
they gotta have so much stuff, special Halloween shockers. And they have the title twice. I mean,
so good you have to see it twice. Yep, I'm with you, Alex. Bernie is the GOAT. He really is. He really is. Okay, let's take a look at our next book, and that is Incredible Hulk 197. This came out in 1975 from Marvel Comics. $650 at the 9.8 was the high sale. That was in December of 2024. The last sale of this book was $21 at a fine, and this book goes for about $10 at a very good. 9.6 goes for $347, and those are the average. This features cover art by Bernie Wrightson. Note, it's Man-Thing.
I have this book, and it's in my pile to go for grading in the shipment I'm going to send hopefully this week or next week. So we'll see. I might be able to show this off at some point.
So he goes to Marvel, right? He's been at Marvel before, but he's going back to Marvel, and they tell him, hey, you mind doing us a Man-Thing cover?
Yeah, you're so good on Swamp Thing. We have the same thing here. Do a Man-Thing cover.
And he's like, sure.
Again, like with the shading, like you're talking about, it's great on the characters there.
Mm-hmm. He's so good at it, man. He really is, man. Okay, let's take a look at our next book. Secrets of Haunted House 44. This book came out in 1981 for DC Comics. A high sale of this book is at $749 at a 9.8. That was last year. Tomorrow, as of tomorrow. That last sale of this book was at $208 at 9.4, and that was just on the 8th of this month. The Raw is going for $4, very good, and $182 at a 9.4 for the graded copies. This is a very key, significant book, even though it features cover art by Bernie Wrightson. It also has a fan letter by Todd McFarlane.
Interesting. I'll have to try to find that so I can read it.
So just to see what Todd wrote, right?
Yeah, I'm curious if he talks about the art or if he talks about something else.
Yeah, who knows? And it's Haunted House, so who's to say what he's talking about? All right, our next book is Doctor Strange Silver Dagger #1. This one is weird to me because on the cover it says Doctor Strange Special Edition, but when you look it up, it's called Doctor Strange Silver Dagger #1. I don't know. I don't get it, but that's how it's listed as. It's from 1983 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book went for $179 at 9.4, and that was December of 2024. The last sale of this book was $6 at the near mint, as well as the the fair market value of this book is $6. 9.4 goes for that 179. This is cover art by Bernie Wrightson. This is a rare Doctor Strange cover. But of course, it's definitely Bernie Wrightson.
Look at the detail of the background is awesome. So good. I haven't seen this cover before. It's amazing. I love it.
It's a wraparound.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, so if you want to find some Bernie Wrightson, Doctor Strange, here's the book to look for.
Yeah, I'll have to remember too the title.
Yeah, it's Doctor Strange. It says Doctor Strange Special Edition, but it also is labeled as Doctor Strange Silver Dagger. So good luck trying to find that one.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. Bernie Wrightson, Master of Macabre, #1. This book came out in 1983 for Pacific Comics. The high sale of this book is surprisingly $13 at a Raw, and that was in August 2021. The last sale of this book was $5 at a Very Fine, and that was in January of this month. And it sells for about $6, Very Fine, and there are no recorded slabs for sale. What's the significant? It features cover, story, and art by Bernie Wrightson. It includes reprints from eerie and creepy comics. Note, it's Bernie without an E.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different layout of the cover too.
Yeah. So what they ended up doing, Pacific Comics had the rights to a lot of Bernie's work, and they decided to do a lot of reprints for them. And of course, that's how this book came out. So this is really a collection of his work. And he did a lot of these. So I don't know how many issues are there in total, but there are quite a few issues, and this is issue #1. But look at the details here. If you just the way he does the eyes, again, that line work it's insane. The amount of line work he did in this time. Yeah. Yeah, it's very affordable Bernie book. So true. Let's go with our next book, and that is the Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley's Frankenstein. This came out in 1983 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book was $3,000 raw. The last sale of this book was $74 at a fine. $90 is the average price of this book at a fine. There is a 9.4, but we don't have a recorded price for that 9.4. This is the creme of the creme. This is the book. If you are a Bernie Wrightson fan, this is the book you need to own, which is considered to be his masterpiece.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this book in person before, so you have to keep an eye out for it.
This book was hard for me to find. However, it's on eBay. So you could find copies, and they go like about $90, so they sell pretty well. Even if you look at the image, I don't even have an image of the cover per se. But this is gorgeous. To the point that excuse me, to the point that they approached him about coloring the work originally. And then when they looked at the work, they said, you shouldn't color this. That's how good the line work is, that you will actually lose beautiful artwork if you color it.
Yeah.
So, yep. Alex is absolutely right. This is his masterpiece. This is his greatest work of art. Yeah. So, go check. Like I said, go check it out. It's on eBay if you want a copy of it. You can pick it up for about $100 there. Next book is Heroes for Hope, starring the X-Men #1. This came out in 1985 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book is at $175 at a 9.8. Last sale of this book is $60 at an 8.5, and that was earlier this month. This book goes for about $5 fine and $135 for 9.8. Bernie Wrightson contributed 3 haunting, beautiful pages, adding his distinct touches to this important project, raising awareness and funds for famine relief in Africa. I see this book all the time, and I may even have a copy of this book. I didn't even know Bernie did work in this book.
Yeah, me too. I've seen this book tons of times as well, and I had no idea that he did anything interior.
Yeah, I definitely should have it. To Alex's point on the chat, I do. I think I have it because it is a classic Arthur Adams cover, and Arthur Adams is my favorite artist, which we still haven't done a spotlight for Arthur Adams yet. We gotta do one soon.
Yeah,
but I'll probably pick every book for that one. That's why I'm intimidated by that one. Because he's my favorite artist. I can't tell you this is his best work because I think they're all great. This is a good book, man. It's a good book, good price. It has meaning behind it. It's hard to get it at a high grade because of the white page. We talk about black, but the white makes it hard because it gets dirty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's go to our next book, and that is Marvel Graphic Novel 22, The Amazing Spider-Man Hooky. This came out in 1986 from Marvel Comics. Has a high sale of $264 at a 9.8. I don't have a sales date for it. $8, no grade, sold in January. This book is $24 at a fine and $91 at a 9.8. This is a rare Bernie Wrightson Spider-Man story.
This book I bought when it was released, and I'm slightly annoyed about it right now because I went to grab it when I saw it was on this list, and I can't find it right now. So I'm hoping I didn't lend it to somebody and forgot. But
yeah,
my little 14-year-old brain, I love it. If you have not seen this book in person, it's a magazine size, and it has a bunch of double-page Bernie awesomeness in it that just is amazing. And it's a really great Spider-Man story too.
Yeah, it's one of those books where you don't hear many people talk about it.
No.
Yeah. And he didn't do that much Spider-Man. This is probably his only Spider-Man title that I know of. Because I didn't see any Spider-Man in his work. So
yeah, and it's just done so well. I can't say enough about this one. This is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah. What up, my dudes? What's up, Black Spiders? Yep, Bernie is fantastic artist. Mr. Parker, paging Peter Parker. Why aren't you in class? Yeah, it's called Hooky for a reason, right? Let's take a look at our next book here, and that is The Weird, #1. This came out in 1988 for DC Comics. High sale of this book is at $34 at an 8.0, and that was all the way back in August of 2021. A no grade sold for $9 just recently, and near me it goes for about $3. It's $20 at a 9.6. This is a Jim Starlin and Bernie Wrightson's created a being of pure energy from another dimension, escapes his captors and seeks refuge on Earth, where he takes over the body of a deceased man and encounters Earth's superhero. What's important about this book, first of all, super cheap. Jim Starlin wrote it, so that's cool, right? You got the guy who, Infinity Gauntlet, right? Writer. But on the very first page of this book is Superman. And you get Bernie Wrightson doing a lot of DC superheroes. So I think this is an opportunity for him to do characters that he probably hasn't done before. He's done Batman, of course. We talked about that earlier, but he hasn't done the Justice League. And there's certain Justice League characters that he's never touched before that. This was the book that allowed him to do that.
Yeah, and this is another one that I picked up off the stands when it came out in 86 or 88. And I like the whole series. It's one of those ones that I actually should go back and reread, just to revisit the art and the story again.
Yeah, it's a book that many people don't talk about. This is the first time I've really heard about this book. You
Yeah, I
know?
remember reading it and I liked it.
Yeah. Dreadstar. Yeah, he's done work with Starling on Dreadstar. We're not going to focus on any Dreadstars here, but he has definitely some great work with Dreadstar. Speaking of Jim Starlin, Batman the Cult. This came out in 1988 for DC Comics. A high sale of this book was $223 at a 9.9, and that was in November of 2022. The last sale of this book is $6 as a fine. You could get that book near mint for $6, and a 9.8 goes for $55. This is the first appearance of Deacon Blackfire, but what's more important about this book, this is a Batman story done by Bernie Wrightson. This is his first proper Batman story.
And it's really good. If you haven't read The Cult, this is yet again another one I picked up when it came out. I still have my original copies from then. And I know that it's in a collection right now that's fairly new. It just came out probably in the last few months. And Izzy, I don't know if you've read this, but the art in this one is very fitting for the story. Like, he changes his tone a bit because it's supposed to be kind of so hazy and, you know, Batman's a little, you know, been brainwashed almost, that you get that vibe from the art. Like, it comes across really well.
It is a classic. It needs more love, my personal opinion. And this is the kind of story that I could see adapted to a film in some way. Obviously, you have to throw in some villains and stuff like that if it's going to be a film, but it lends so well. Really does.
I don't even know if they need to add anything, because there's such a tendency now that it has to be, you know, you're saving the whole universe. Whereas this is just, you know, like, he gets drawn into this and he has to kind of save himself, you know, and work his way out from the, and that's the battle in this story. It's not so much the battle between him and Deke, it's more the battle of himself to, like, break his hold of him.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go to our next book here, and that is Punisher POV #1. This came out in 1991. A high sale, believe it or not, was $10, and that was in December 2024. The last sale of this book was $6 at a near mint. A fine goes for about $5. There's no recorded slabs. Key significance: this is the first Punisher story done by Bernie Wrightson. I promise you, this is not his last story.
I have never heard of this one, so this is another one I'll be looking for on Wednesday.
Yeah, I've heard of POV. A lot of people don't talk about it. It's done, but Starling wrote it. So Bernie Wrightson and Jim Starling, they collaborated quite a bit. I remember when this came out, and again, it doesn't have a lot of praises, but it's nice to note that he did a Punisher that wasn't a supernatural Punisher, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
This is old school Punisher, typical Punisher. Go check this one out. Our next book is Dark Horse Presents 100-2. Keep in mind, there's other versions of this book, but this book came out in 1995 for Dark Horse Comics. A high sale of this book was, really, believe it or not, $5 raw, and that was in 2019 December. Last sale of this book was $10. See, now we have a typo. That's a typo. I think it was because I was having a problem trying to find this book properly. Let's see if I can find this book again. Dark Horse Presents. Let's see if I can find it now. This is what happens when you try to get everything done. It says $5 raw. Okay, so the $10 is off. Okay, so the last recorded sale of this book was $3. So it's $5 at a high raw, which is very odd for a book like this. And it's $3 at a raw was the last sale in December 2024. That's also the fair market value of this book. This features a beautiful Bernie Wrightson cover of Hellboy. and it has a classic Hellboy story, Chain Coffin. Why is this book so undervalued?
I don't know. That's an awesome cover. Hellboy is a character that I really only know through the movies more than the comic. I remember the comic coming out
Yeah.
when I was going to the store, but I never really bought it. But I love that cover though.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's one of those covers that is like, why is this book not selling? Why?
Yeah.
$5, you can get this book for cover price. So go check it out. To Bernie Wrightson on Hellboy. So let's take a look at our next book here. Here's another Batman title that's worth noting. That's Batman Aliens #1. This came out in 1997 for DC Dark Horse Comics. The high sale of this book is $200 at 9.8, and that came out in April of 2022. The last sale of this book was $99 at a 9.8, and that was in January. Fair market value of this book is $8 at a very fine, while the graded copy goes for about $103 at 9.8. This is Batman Battling the Xenomorphs in a 2-issue limited series that was co-published by DC and Dark Horse. No, this is not Bernie's first Aliens drawing. He has a Dark Horse Comics presents with an alien, a xenomorph. So,
yeah, and I didn't know about this one either. So this I'll be looking for. I do have a lot of the Batman crossovers with other characters like this, but I didn't know about this one.
yeah, I happen to have the one with the Predator.
Yeah, I have that one.
I have that one by the Kuberts. I don't have this one. I would like to have it because it is a Bernie Wrightson and it's written by Ron Mars. So Ron Mars is a great writer. So I would like to take a look at this one. It's 2 issues, so it's worth picking up.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's go to our next book. And that is Batman Nevermore #1. This came out in 2003 for DC Comics. A high sale is $18 at a Raw, and that was in November 2023. Last sale, this book was $4 at a very fine. It's also the fair market value of the book, and there are no recorded slabs that were sold. This is a team up of Batman and Edgar Allan Poe, which is quite fitting for Bernie Wrightson. And this is an Elseworld story, of course.
Yeah, and look at I love it because he got to do a little twist on Batman a little bit differently than he usually would, which would be fun to see.
Yeah, so if you look at it, it's kind of hard to see it because it's smaller, but it's like Batman as the Raven. So that's cool. And you know what? It makes sense with Bernie Wrightson doing an Edgar Allan Poe. He did a lot of Edgar Allan Poe stories prior. So why not just do an Elseworld story featuring Batman in a Edgar Allan Poe story, which is I think is pretty cool. 5 issues. I don't know how much you were able to do with 5 issues, but
yeah.
It's a lot of Raven.
Yep.
But it's definitely worth checking out. I hope there's like a trade for this. That would be nice.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that.
Mm-hmm. So we're coming towards the end. We still have a few more to go. And here's one that I wanted to talk about. And that's the Punisher #1. The Marvel Knights Punisher #1. This came out in 1998 for Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book is at $76 at a 9.8 in January 2022. Last sale of this book is at $7 at a fine, and that's also the fair market value for this book. $76 is also the fair market value for 9.8. This is Bernie Wrightson. Art brings a dark and supernatural edge to Marvel Comics' Punisher. Purgatory, that's the code name of the book, which deviates from typical Punisher stories by exploring the character's interaction with the supernatural. This, I'm sure on paper, this must have sounded awesome. Execution-wise, I'm sorry, it didn't work. Punisher does not need to be a supernatural Punisher. However, there's nothing wrong with Bernie Wrightson doing a Punisher book.
Yeah, and especially at that price. I'll look for this one too because I'll be looking for the other one. And it did go into a supernatural direction later on with the character again.
And then we got the future version of him. Yeah. We are supposed to forget about that Punisher storyline. So I picked it up when it came out. In fact, this was at the time where Joe Quesada was brought into Marvel, and he wasn't the editor in chief, but he was the editor for the new Marvel's Knights line, which introduced us to Daredevil, Black Panther, Punisher, and the Inhumans. Those were the four books, and all of them went really well, except for this one.
Yeah.
This was the one that people went, "What the heck? What the hell are you doing to Punisher?"
Yeah.
Right? To the point that when they rebooted the series again, and they brought Garth Ennis with Steve Dillon, who's famous for Preacher at the time, he came into Punisher. They wanted to talk about this story because obviously Punisher's back from the dead. How did that happen? And the story was, I went to hell, I didn't like it, so they kicked me out, and now I'm back.
Yeah.
That was it. He summed it up in one page, Garth Ennis, when he wrote it. But I thought this was a cool moment in time of Punisher, and I had to throw it in there.
Yeah, I'll pick it up if I can find it for sure.
There's some great covers. Like, there's some really good covers. There's like this one cover of Punisher coming out of the grave, a la Last Craven, Craven the Last Hunt. Very similar to that. Not exactly, is at a different angle, but very similar to that. And it's worth checking out. Definitely worth checking out. Right. And this is what we call the last major project. Frankenstein Alive #1. This came out in 2014 for IDW. A high sale of this book is $9 raw, and that was in October of 2023. Last sale was that $9, and that's also the near value of this book. This is Bernie Wrightson's final major project, Frankenstein Alive, a sequel to his acclaimed Frankenstein adaptation, stands an appointed testament to his artistic dedication, with Kelly Jones completing the artwork after Wrightson's passing. So he was never able to complete it, and Kelly Jones took over, which was, I have to say, that had to have been perfect. The perfect person to take over, because Kelly Jones embodies Bernie Wrightson's art style probably better than anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
What's your thoughts on this one?
Again, nice black cover. This is another one I haven't read, but for $9, I mean, I'm going to look for this book, or I'll just buy the whole series on eBay probably.
Yeah. Keep in mind, it's also written by Steve Niles, who does 30 Days of Night. He wrote the story while it was illustrated by Bernie Wrightson, and then eventually Kelly Jones. So this is definitely a good book. It's worth having it. Again, if you are a Bernie Wrightson completist, this is definitely worth having. Okay. And that does it, guys. That was Creator Spotlight, Bernie Wrightson. I hope you enjoyed this retrospect as we look back at the history and comic books that Bernie left behind. A genius, legend, icon, you name it. He is by far one of the greatest artists of his time, and definitely in the 70s when he was at his peak. Go look up his work. Go check out his work. I hope this helps you out in finding books made by Bernie Wrightson. So with that, we're going to end this one, and we're going to go to our next segment. But thank you so much for watching this one. Woohoo! We're at the end. Is it? Oh man, it's 8:15. We can never end before 8, can we?
Great job on those picks, Izzy. Like that's
Thank
always
you.
leaves people with something to look for and find and good value. So it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, I told you this before, and I shared this with everybody. This was the one segment where we were like, a lot of people were telling me, like, why are you doing that? I was like, I think there's something in this segment that's really cool that we definitely can take advantage of. And yeah, I did it. We did it. Yeah. Oh man. It's so much fun doing these. It takes a lot because there's a lot of research that goes along with it, and like as you can see, you don't always get it right. But I always enjoyed the segment. So
Yeah, and first appearances and first work in titles is difficult sometimes because maybe it's 1 or 2 pages and maybe it's not documented right. Like to find all that out is a lot of digging that you have
yeah,
to do.
and it's not always right. That's the thing. But you do your best for what you get, and that's the important part there. But again, it's still when you look them up, you look up the figures. This is what you find. So, you ready to talk about new comic books?
Yes.
It's time for Fresh Picks. It's our final segment. Stick around, as DJ Links would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in the last couple of weeks, we've had a light amount of books that were really big. This week, however, there's some books to pick up.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Starting with the one that we're seeing right now, I figured this made the most amount of sense. So why not? But we're going to talk about the new comic books for this week. Just to let you know, if this is the first time you're watching this, what we do here is that we're going to talk a little bit about the publisher's breakdown. We're going to look at how many books are coming out. We're not going to do all of them. Instead, we're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the keys that are coming out for this week in comics. And then we're going to show you some of the variants that we found to be our favorite. With that said, let's go to Superior Stands. I always throw this there because this is the best time to showcase your Superior Stands. They help the channel. Go check them out because they are awesome. They display comics in ways that just look at that. They're just there on display there. Very minimal, and I like that in my comics because I want the comics to be the star of the show, and that's why you want to check out Superior Stands. There's a QR code there. Go check them out. Say Izzy said hi to you. Okay. Let's talk about our previous Fresh. So last week we looked at a couple of books that came out, and from the list, the top book voted on by, according to League of Comics, was Absolute Superman #4. This came in 31%, which makes it the top book based off of readership. #2 was The Ultimates #9, which is the first appearance of Ultimate Luke Cage. Batgirl came in next, followed by Batman, and then finally The Legacy of Vader. So, what's your thoughts on Absolute Superman?
Well, I've read all these books, and I generally agree with the kind of order of them. Absolute Superman, we get some more, updates on the powers, and there's stuff going on, and it's more of a Lois-centric issue in a way, just explaining her character a little bit more, which was cool, I thought, to see. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. We're coming to the end of all these first arcs of these books, which is going to be good.
What's your thoughts of Jimmy Olsen with the Omega Men?
It's interesting because they do it more as it's labeled as like more of a gang type of thing rather than what we all thought Omega Men was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I didn't expect it to be what we envision Omega Men to be because we know they are the greatest DC comic team of all time, right? There goes Papa Wheelie with that $2. Look at that, giving us some WWE teasers right there. Thank you, Papa. I haven't done this in a while, so we gotta do one here. So let's go ahead and give him a wrestling one.
Yeah.
I wish I had that much energy.
LA Knight. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the publisher breakdown. So our rundown, really. New comic book rundown. Off the shelves, we have 76 new titles coming out this week. Among them, there's 247 variants. From new #1s, we have 20 titles. Out of that, we have 76 variants. The potential keys, we got a lot of keys this week with 11 keys. And from that, 8 of them are first appearances. So, like I said, it's a pretty heavy week when it comes to comics and picking up your books. As far as the publisher breakdown, Marvel has 18 titles coming out this week with 87 variants, while DC Comics has 9 titles with 46 variants. And publisher breakdown when it comes to the indies, Image has 14 titles with 33 variants. Boom Studios has 2 titles with 7 variants. IDW has 3 titles and 3 additional variants to go with them, so that's a total of 6 comics. Dynamite Entertainment has 2 titles, but as always, 21 variants to go along with it. And Dark Horse last week didn't give us any variants, but they got 11 titles and 11 variants as well. As far as the rest of them goes, in indie publishers, you have 17 titles and 39 variants. So you got your variants ready for this week?
Yep. I'm going to be having a bunch, I think.
Let's take a look at our keys for the week. So our key watch, starting with Eddie Brock Carnage #1. This is the first ongoing series featuring Eddie Brock with the Carnage symbiote. The first cover is done by Iban Colello. There's a Humberto Ramos wraparound cover. Be on the lookout for that one. I think that one's going to sell pretty fast because of the Venom one was actually on Cover Price's top 10 list. So be on the lookout for that one. I think that's going to be the big one of the bunch. And there's a 1 in 25 Andrea Breston cover. What's your thoughts on Eddie Brock being Carnage now?
I think it's going to be pretty cool. I heard a little bit of a preview about it, and it sounds really good. It's supposed to be a really good read. And that Ramos wraparound cover, like the other part of it, it's just so good. It looks great.
Yeah. I'm twofold on this. Like anybody else, I want a good story. But to me, Eddie Brock will always be Venom.
I think that we're going to get back to that. I mean, I don't know. I've been reading All New Venom 3 or All New Venom. I think that everything will kind of resolve itself eventually, and we'll be back to that.
Oh, yeah. Sooner or later, we'll go back to status quo. It's inevitable, of course. It's just that how long will it take before we get back to status quo? That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Our next book is Absolute Batman #5. This is the conclusion of the first story arc. So we're finally going to end this story with this book, and we'll see if this actually stood the test of time. You have the Nick Dragata cover A, which I love that cover, and I'm going to pick that one up. Clay May also has a great cover there, which I love the colors in that cover. Yep. And there's a 1 in 25 Nicholas Draper Ivy cover. We're going to look at more covers later for Absolute Batman, but Absolute Batman #4 was a bit of a letdown. What do you think 5 is going to be like?
I'm hoping that it really sets something up, closes the arc, just like any good comic arc should do, and sets us up for something to come in the future. Because, you know, Absolute Batman for me started out as, you know, my favorite, and now it's like, it's kind of out of the 3, it's in 3rd spot. So even Absolute Superman #4, I really like that read. Yeah. And Absolute Wonder Woman's been absolutely amazing. So
I stand corrected. Rick Sanchez says that this is the penultimate, not the final issue. Thank you for that correction. This is taken from the information that was given to me by the website. So if that's the, I would have figured issue 6 would have been the final arc. So if you're right, Rick, thank you so much for sharing that information. I appreciate that. All right. Let's take a look at our next book. One World Under Doom #1. This is a 9-issue limited series featuring Dr. Doom as Earth Sorcerer Supreme. Cover A is the Ben Harvey cover, so I got to give a shout out to my boy Ben Harvey. He's a great guy. You have another sought after John Tyler Christopher Negative Space cover, and there's a hidden gem Mike Mignola cover, which I do believe is an open order cover and not a 1 in 25. They don't say anything if it's a 1 in 25. There's also another one that's coming out this week as well. I didn't put it up there, but there's one with the Doom dinosaur.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's a pretty big one that's coming out as well. So what it's the Clinton Crane, that's who it was. I knew it was somebody with the dinosaur. That's going to be a sought after one. What's your thoughts on Doom?
I can't wait to read it because I've really enjoyed him as the Sorcerer Supreme. I thought it was a cool thing. I loved the infamous Iron Man run where he kind of took over that as well.
Mhm.
So I think in the last couple of years, Doom has been really well written, and I'm hoping they take a lot of this and translate it into the movie and make this character as great of a villain and character as we know he can be. And I love that John Tyler Christopher cover.
Yeah, it's a good cover. All right. Doom is Sorcerer Supreme, but how? It happened. It happened. How? You know how it happened? Because Marvel wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
Our next book is Green Lantern Corps #1. This is the first appearance of Vexar U of Tamarin, a new Green Lantern. So we're going to be introduced to a new Green Lantern. Cover A is Fernando Pasrin. There's an Ariel Olivetti cover, and there's a beautiful 1 in 50 Karan Grant cover. It's not the last time we see a Karan Grant cover.
This will be interesting. We're going to talk about another cover later, but it's cool because it's the same planet as obviously Starfire and Blackfire, and the same planet as if you read Batman Offworld as the character in there. So I don't read Green Lantern, but I might pick it up just because I do like that angle.
Yeah. I might pick it up because it's #1 and I like picking up #1s. I like the fact that I get to see Kyle Ratner back because he's one of my personal favorites. He is a good Green Lantern to me. He ain't no Hal, of course, but I've always liked Kyle Ratner in the story. So that's good. And, we got Guy Gardner in the book too, so why not?
Yeah.
Our next book, Magic #2. This is the first appearance of Sonic Demon. There's plenty of covers to go out for this one. There's a J. Scott Campbell cover, which is cover A. That's the normal cover. There's also multiple Pablo Villalobos covers. The one you're seeing right now is the 1 in 100 Virgin variant. And there's a 1 in 10 Peach Momoko cover of this book. And because it's Magic, there's a lot of covers.
Yeah. And, the J. Scott Campbell, I don't know how practical those pants are. I'm just going to say that.
You know what? Those pants look like someone will wear them. Like, I could see someone wearing those pants.
You wouldn't be able to run real fast in them. I just don't. I don't see that.
Well, she got them tucked into the boots, so
yeah. But that Lobos cover, it's amazing. That's the one I'll be picking up, and I might get that 1 in 10 as well. We'll see.
Yeah, so there is a trade dress version. That's an open order. So if you want the trade dress version, you can pick that one up. Yep, look at that. Alex loves Magic, and that Lobos is fire. It really is, man. Lobos is on a league of his own, man. He really is. All right, let's take a look at our next book. Transformers 17. This is the first appearance of a new character called Shredhead. I don't know what to say about that. It's Daniel Warren Johnson, so I'm not going to say anything bad about that. But Shredhead, I can't. Not with that name. It sounds like a name a kid would make, right?
Is it going to be like a cheese shredder head?
I don't know. I'm thinking about Shredder as a head, and then, I don't know. I just don't know what to think about it. But
you know what? Maybe it's a paper shredder that transforms.
There you go. Who's to say? Well, cover A is done by Daniel Warren Johnson. There's a 1 in 25 Gianna Coletto that features Ultra Magnus, which I think is phenomenal. And there's also a 1 in 50 Homer cover, which is also a nice one that has Wheeljack in there as well. Yeah, Rick. Shredhead from TNT.
Well, we know one person that's going to have all of those ratios.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many ratios when it comes to Transformers. Right now, there's 16 covers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's how many covers for Transformers. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
pick up my copy of Transformers. I think Shredhead's a great title, I guess, great name for a character. So we'll see how it is.
Watch for that second print with him on the cover. If there isn't a secret reveal cover, I don't know. Those are
Yeah.
usually the ones I get. So
Okay, let's take a look at what's next, and that is Bug Wars. Bug Wars is an indie key. This is written by Jason Aaron, with Mahmoud Ozara doing the interiors, and that's cover A as well. Let me just go ahead and read the synopsis. Slay Manker is a kid from Alabama suddenly lost in a vicious world of murdering ant armies, spell casting, spider witches, and beetle-ridden barbarians to decide the fate of his family. This book was hot. In New York Comic Con, this book was one of the books that they were giving away, and it actually did gain some spec value to it. And now the book is hot. So be on the lookout for the New York Comic Con book going up in value because of this book. It's a cool concept. It kind of has a Micronauts feel to it, with sorcery and things like that. There is a 1 in 25 Pepe Larraz cover, but I think the one that people are going to go crazy for is that 1 in 100 Peach Momoko cover, because that is gorgeous.
yeah, and I think the Momoko also has an open order one, but I'm not 100%. But I did hear that this is a really cool read and has some really interesting stuff in it. So
Yeah.
I wasn't going to get it, but I am going to get it, and I did pre-order because it's in previews now for issue 3. So I did order that up as well.
Yeah, and you are right. There is a trade dress for the Peach Momoko cover, but this is that rare occasion where that version just looks so good.
Yeah, that is a good Peach cover for sure. Her stuff for me, when it's on, it's awesome. So
yeah. So let's take a look at our eye-catching variant, and okay, I'm gonna say it because I have to say it. This is not a good Mark Spears cover. I'm sorry. You may hate me for it. You may unsubscribe. I'm telling you, I love Mark Spears covers like anybody else. I do not like this one. This absolute Batman number 5. I had to show it because it's gonna sell. It's gonna sell. What is going on in Batman's crotch? Like, you probably
there's a lot to talk about there. It's
too much thigh. The thigh is not the problem here. I think it's the crotch.
Yeah. I can't remember for sure, but I think this is a retailer exclusive, so it's not going to be as common. That's probably going to why people are going to
it's
buy
a
it.
789 Comics exclusive. So that's where you will get it on the website if it hasn't been sold out already. But my gosh, I can't with this one. I pass. This one I got to pass on.
Well, out of those 3 covers, I would definitely put that one third.
Yeah, case. Exactly. You do have the Jolene Jones cover, which I love that cover.
Yeah.
And Batman Dark Patterns number 3 by Ashley Wood. Ooh. I'm picking that up just for that cover.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, because I don't think I ordered this one, but I'm hoping the store gets that cover because I'll definitely get that one too.
So good. And it's only 2 covers. So with Dark Patterns, there's this is cover B, and there's a cover A. There's no other covers outside of that. So next up is Aquaman number 2, the Lucas Myers cover. I think that's just such a cool cover. It really is. He's no longer on the seahorse. He's on the tortoise.
Yeah, the tortoise horse.
Yeah, exactly. Does it move faster? Who knows? You got the Green Lantern Corps, the Nathan Searcy cover with Jessica Cruz, and Cal just happens to be just hanging in the background. I feel like I like it, but why do we have Cal in the background?
And why not the new character on the front?
Yeah, but it's Nathan Searcy, so it had to be a girl's cover.
Yeah.
I think that's where this image gets hurt. It to me, it will be an amazing cover if he wasn't in the background. And I mentioned it just a little while ago. I love Kyle, but it doesn't work here. He's just there,
Yeah.
you know? And I mentioned Karan Grant as well. That is a beautiful cover of Black Lightning #4.
Yeah. I feel like Black Lightning is the title that I've kind of missed out on. So I'll probably either go back and buy them all, like when I can, or just get the trade of it, because I've been seeing the covers and I really enjoy the art for sure.
Yeah, they've been having some really good covers on Black Lightning. Next up, Amazing Spider-Man 67, the Scotty Young variant. Who doesn't want to see a Froggy Venom?
Yeah, right from Venom 3.
Yeah, it really is. I love it. I absolutely love this series, the Scotty Young series of covers. They've been
Yeah, I
so
like
much fun.
the vulture ones with them in the nest.
With the little vultures.
Yeah.
And One World Doom, the big time collectibles, John Jane covers. We're going to see a few John Jane covers. What are your thoughts on this Dr. Doom John Jane?
It's great because it's kind of, you don't get it all at once. You got to really look at it for a bit, but I think it's a good cover. I love that one.
At first, I was looking at it. I was like, "Why is it red?" And then it dawned on me he's the Sorcerer Supreme, duh. And I think it was just so cool seeing that. But this is a big time collectible. You have to check to see if it's still available. What am I going to say? It's John Jang. Can't say anything bad about John Jang. Jang Gang. And then you got the John Tyler Christopher variant of Deadpool Wolverine #2. It's a negative space. This is a retailer exclusive as well. But we're looking at banger covers. That's the whole purpose of this section here.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on this cover?
I love John Tyler Christopher stuff. I don't know what it is, the negative art stuff. I'm not so much a fan of the Star Wars when he did the figure in the toy figure ones, but these base ones I just think I love them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's a really good one. I like the negative space on this one a lot. It just looks good. It looks really good. Right. Our next books got some more here, and that's Sam Wilson, Captain America #2. This is a 1/100 Torrin Clark cover. Since we are getting Captain America this week, I figured might as well throw that one in. I love the color schemes of it. I like the fact that they're both wearing, they're both red, white, and blue, so they have that America feel to it. Hulk is just pounding on Sam here, man.
Yeah,
that's such a mismatch.
Yeah, and there's a really cool homage cover for this as well with impact with that
with the punch.
Captain America cover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then here's another big time collectible, John James cover of Eddie Brock Carnage #1. There's multiple versions of this cover too, but this makes Carnage scary, man. He wasn't scary before, but
that looks really good too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, New Champions #2, Derek Chew cover. If you're interested, New Champions does have some keys and some first appearances to it this week. I personally like this Derek Chew cover more than all the other covers.
Yeah. If you've been reading New Champions, which I know some people have, or if you're into just grabbing first appearances, there is a ton of them in this book. So, and most of them only, I think 3 of the characters that appear for the first time in this only had a cover appearance in a previous book.
Okay. Next up, this is our last list. Geiger #11, the Herman Peralta cover. So good.
Yeah.
So good. Simple but good. All right. And then Transformers 17, another big times collectible. John Jang doing Ultra Magnus. If it has Ultra Magnus, it's mine. I love Ultra Magnus. He's one of my favorite Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a regular open order, Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu #5, David Pararatot. Parotti.
Parator? I don't know.
Parator? Parator. Yeah, Parator. That's another great cover right there. It has that Del Alto feel to it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
really like it.
Another one to watch out for is there's a reprint for Geiger 10 coming out with the cover appearance of the glowing woman on it who appears in that issue.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be her first cover if you seek such things.
Yes. And there you have it, guys. That completes the list of new comic books for this week. We did it, Shane. Woohoo! Look at that rhymes. I'm not sure what he was talking about. I got to go back and watch that. And then I love Scotty, but not a Scotty collector. That's understandable. I'm good with that. Shane, it's late in the evening for me, and I got to wake up really early. I got to work tomorrow. I got to go to the office tomorrow.
Oh no!
Yeah, I got to work. Actually, working tomorrow. And I got some good news coming up to you guys really soon. I'm not at liberty to say at the moment, but I do have some exciting news I'm going to share with you guys very soon. I think you guys are going to be really happy, and you'll probably be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense when you see it. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but we're going to wrap things up, guys. So, Shane, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram and YouTube. I do my own stuff on Wednesday and drop it all then. And I have a slab showcase that comes out today. It just comes out at 4:00 Eastern. And I do some stuff on Sunday. I'm here with you, and I do stuff elsewhere too. I'm just having fun. I love talking about comics.
Yeah, that's right. And you know me, IzzyVerse. Be on the lookout for the replays where I fix a lot of those errors. And make sure you like and subscribe them all. Again, as I mentioned to you guys, I will be hanging out at Cosmic Con this week. If you're in the New York City area, go stop by. It's in 18th Street in New York City. It's going to be so much fun. We got Rags Morales who's going to be there. And guess what? That Rags Morales video is coming out. I haven't announced exactly when it's coming out, but it's coming out. And if you want to see the original, it's still in my YouTube channel. You got to go all the way back to see it. It's an amazing conversation I have with Rags Morales as we talk about identity crisis. And for those of you who didn't catch the monthly show, it's still up and running. Go check it out. We talk about the highest selling comic books. We talked about the newly slabbed comic books. This was a good show. I am going to cut it up for you guys, but I haven't had time to do it. So be on the lookout for that. A lot of good stuff, man. Let's see. Calling all cars. Shane is still lost. The great Michael Turner. Yes. Oh, that logo sucks. I didn't make the logo. I'm sorry. I like that logo. Wasn't my logo. That's just a convention logo. But I'll be there on Saturday if you're in the New York City area. Guys, we'll see you until next time. And as always, we want to leave you with a nice goodbye. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Excelsior. I can't leave yet. Until where am I going? Oh yeah, here you go.
We got another hour.
I think this is it. I think you're about to go home. Okay. All right. Like thank you.
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 Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I never said thank you.
And you'll never have to.
Thank you. I guess I'll see you.